Yalin wiped the sweat from his forehead and looked out over the red desert. The twin suns beat down on his back as the wind pushed hot dust across the cracked ground. He had been walking for hours, searching for old parts, maybe some scrap tech, left behind from the war. Most people avoided this place, too quiet, too dead. But Yalin liked it that way. He stopped when he saw something strange in the distance. Just past a ridge, something metal stuck out of the sand. It looked like a broken wing. Yalin narrowed his eyes. "Not human," he whispered. Carefully, he climbed down the ridge and approached. The metal wasn't rusted. It was smooth and dark. Blue with gold lines across it. Alien, for sure. Half the ship was buried in the sand, but the cockpit glass was cracked and open. Something had crashed hard here a long time ago. He walked around the wreck, brushing sand off with his gloves. There was no smoke, no smell of fuel, just silence. The ship seemed empty. He reached into his backpack and pulled out his scanner. It blinked once, then made a sound. .ping.j. LEN froze. That was impossible. The ship was dead, wasn't it? He checked the screen. One low-power signal, still active. His heart raced. Why would a dead ship still have power? He hesitated. People in town always said strange things about the desert ships that called to people, voices in the night. One miner even claimed he saw a ghost crawl out of the sand. But Yalin wasn't superstitious. He believed in machines, not ghosts. He climbed into the broken cockpit. The inside was dark, wires hanging from the ceiling, sparks flickering. But the seat was still warm. That was not normal. He looked at the controls. Alien symbols glowed faintly across the dash, like the ship was dreaming. Yalin didn't recognize the language, but something about it felt important. He pressed a button. The ship made a soft hum. Lights flickered. A screen turned on. Then a voice spoke. Soft. Female. In a language he couldn't understand, but the fear in it was clear. He stepped back. "Who's there?" he said, even though he knew no one would answer. Suddenly, the screen changed. A symbol appeared, a golden crown over a star. And under it, in glowing letters he could read, it said, "Royal Vessel. Do not touch." Yalin stared. "Royal?" he whispered. "As in a queen?" His hands shook a little. He had just pressed buttons on the personal ship of a royal alien leader. That couldn't be good. He jumped out of the cockpit and paced. He thought about walking away. Maybe bury the whole thing again. Maybe pretend he never saw it. But the ship pinged again. Not a warning this time. A request. Help. It wasn't in words. It was a feeling in his mind. Soft but strong. Like the ship was alive, like it was scared. Yalin looked back at it. Part of him wanted to run, but a stronger part, the one that fixed broken. Things couldn't leave it like this. He climbed back in and pulled out his tools. "Okay, girl," he said softly, patting the metal. "Let's see what you've got." For the next few hours, he worked in silence. He repaired a power relay, patched broken wires, and reconnected a coolant system. The ship started to glow from within, softly at first. It was waking up. While working, he found something hidden beneath the seat, a small badge made of silver and glass. When he touched it, the ship reacted. The screens blinked fast, then calmed. A new voice whispered. This time, it was in English. "Protect. The Queen." Jalen's breath caught. He looked around. What queen? Where is she? But the ship said no more. Night came quickly on the desert moon. The stars lit up above like holes punched in black cloth. Yalin sat on a rock outside the ship, staring at it. The wind was cold. Now he knew something big was happening. This wasn't just old scrap. This was royal property, sacred, and if someone found out he was touching it, worse, fixing it, He might be in danger, but something in his heart wouldn't let him stop. Someone needed help. Maybe even that Queen Dot. And if no one else would help her, then maybe he would dot in the distance. A low rumble shook the air. He stood up quickly. Far on the horizon, 3 lights fell from the sky like comets. They were coming. But for who? Yalin didn't sleep that night. He sat on the edge of a rock, staring at the strange ship glowing quietly under the moonlight. The wind whispered over the dunes, but his eyes stayed on those lights in the sky, getting closer, slower now. They weren't stars, and they weren't random. They were looking for something, for her. He turned back to the alien craft. It had stopped sending sounds or lights, but it didn't feel dead. No, it felt like it was watching. Waiting. Ian grabbed his scanner again. The signal was stronger now. The ship had a small core half dead, barely functioning, but still alive. He opened the engine panel. Inside, strange crystal wiring and smooth metal formed an engine unlike anything human engineers had ever seen. It looked more like art than tech, and it was. Cracked. They knew he couldn't fix alien crystals, but maybe he could link them to human systems, just enough to boost power. Don't blow up, he muttered as he began attaching. Wires and a power coil from his pack. Sparks flew. The ship trembled, and then the engine lit up. Just for a second, but enough to glow soft blue, pulsing like a heartbeat. Suddenly, the screen inside the cockpit turned on again. Symbols appeared across it. Yalin blinked. Some of them were now translated. The ship was learning his language. He stepped closer. One word stood out on the screen. Connection. Then a gentle voice echoed in the cockpit. Female, calm but cold. Identify yourself. Yalin stared. I'm Yalin Cross. Engineer. Civilian. Silence. Then, you are not part of the royal bloodline. No, he said, frowning. I'm just a guy who fixes broken things. Yet, you repaired my core. The voice paused. Then came a sound like soft breathing, followed by words that chilled him. The Queen still sleeps. Yalin stepped back. The Queen? She's alive? The ship didn't answer. Instead, a section of the back wall shifted. Dust and rust fell as a sealed panel slid open. Behind it, hidden in a small chamber, was a glowing pod. Inside was a figure. A woman. She floated in pale blue light, her arms crossed over her chest, her eyes closed. Her skin shimmered like soft metal. Her hair floated like it was underwater. She wore armor made of thin plates, with the same royal crown symbol on her chest. Jalin's breath caught. She didn't look dead. She looked frozen in time. The Queen of Velari, the ship whispered. Status: critical stasis. Power at 12%. Revive not recommended. Yalin stepped closer. His hand hovered over the pod. Then he stopped. He knew what this meant now. He wasn't just fixing a ship. He had touched something sacred. Someone sacred. The ship said softly. You have activated ancient systems. The royal beacon is live. They are coming. He looked out again. The lights in the sky had grown bigger. He could now see their shapes. 3 ships, sleek and sharp, flying low toward the desert. They're almost here, Yalin muttered. And I'm standing in the middle of a royal mystery. He had 2 choices: run now, or protect what he had found. He looked back at the Queen. He didn't know who she was, what she had done, or why her ship crashed. But something inside told him she didn't deserve to be forgotten in the dust. He touched the pod gently. I'll keep you safe, he said. Then the ship's systems surged. Red lights flashed. Warning. Hostile units detected. Weapons locked. Defense system offline. Jalin's eyes widened. No defense? You're serious? The ship replied. almost like it was. Embarrassed. Repairs incomplete. Survival unlikely. Well, thanks for the honesty, Yalin muttered. He ran to his supply pack and grabbed 2 power cells, pushing them into the engine core. The ship groaned, but accepted them. A few exterior lights flickered on. The beacon blinked faster. He looked up. The enemy or Royal Guard, or maybe both, were only minutes away now. Dust clouds appeared on the horizon. Jalen sat in the cockpit, heart racing. He could see the Queen in her pod, silent and still. Ship spoke once more. You are not of royal blood, but you touched the heart. She will remember. Then the screen went dark. Outside. Engines roared across the sky, and 3 alien ships landed like thunder, surrounding him in a storm of sand. And Wind. Jalen didn't know if they were here to rescue her or kill him, but he was about to find out. The sandstorm hit hard when the alien ships landed. Yalin covered his eyes with his arm as the ground shook beneath him. He tried to stay calm, but his heart pounded in his chest. This wasn't just a visit. It was a military drop. 3 ships surrounded the crash site, forming a triangle. They were taller than any Earth ship Yalin had seen, sleek, black, with glowing blue veins across their hulls. Their engines gave off a strange hum, low and deep, almost like growling. Then, from the center ship, a door opened. A ramp extended. Shadows moved. The first alien stepped out tall, silver-skinned, with sharp glowing eyes and a long cape trailing behind. He wore royal armor and held a long staff, its top shaped like a blade. Yalin stepped out of the ship slowly, hands raised. Hey, I'm not armed. The alien leader raised a hand, and the others behind him paused. He spoke in a strange tongue, fast and sharp. Another alien, smaller and wearing a translator collar, stepped forward. She looked at Yalin with cold eyes. You have interfered with sacred property, she said flatly. This ship belongs to the Velari crown. I didn't know, Yalin said quickly. I just found it. It was dying. I helped fix it. The translator tilted her head. You repaired the royal vessel? Yalin nodded. Yes, and there's someone inside, a woman, in stasis. At that, the tall leader moved fast, pushing past Yalin and into the ship. The others followed. Yalin stepped aside, feeling a cold sweat run down his neck. Inside, the aliens surrounded the pod. One of them gasped. She lives. The translator whispered. The leader turned sharply to Yalin. What else did you touch? Just the systems. I didn't harm her, Yalin said, stepping back. I swear. Another guard raised a weapon. He activated the beacon. That's a crime. I didn't mean to. Yalin shouted. I thought someone needed help. The Queen's pod flickered softly. A pulse of blue light passed through the room. The leader turned again and lowered his hand, signaling the guards to wait. Then, something strange happened. The Queen's eyes moved beneath her lids. The translator stepped back. She's waking? No, said the leader, frowning. That should not be possible. Jalin's chest tightened. Is that bad? Before anyone could answer, the pod opened slightly just. A crack. A breath escaped the chamber, light and cold like fog. The Queen's eyes opened glowing, faint silver. The guards dropped to one knee. Yalin just stared. She looked weak, confused, but her eyes locked onto him. Not the guards. Not the leader. Him. You, she said softly, voice dry and slow. You brought me back. Yalin swallowed hard. I didn't mean to. I just wanted to fix the ship. The leader stepped forward. My queen, he is not a Velari. He touched your vessel. It is forbidden. Her eyes stayed on Hullen. And yet, I live. The guards looked uneasy. The leader spoke again. "Let us remove him, now." "No," the Queen said, louder now. "He saved me. He activated royal systems. He used his hands," she cut in. "Not weapons. Not greed. Just care." Yalin shifted uncomfortably. "Look, I didn't do it for rewards or anything. I just ... Don't like broken things." The Queen gave the smallest smile. "You are strange. Human." The leader was clearly angry, but held back. He has seen the Queen, touched the royal ship. That alone demands punishment. The Queen stood unsteady, but strong. The pod fully opened, and the cold faded. She stepped down barefoot, her royal robe flowing around her like silver fire. She looked at Yalin. "Do you fear me?" He shook his head slowly. "No. Should I?" She raised an eyebrow. "You may be the first who doesn't." Then she turned to her guards. "No harm shall come to this one. He is under my protection." The leader looked furious. "This is not law. I am law," she said firmly. "And this human will stay." The guards said nothing. The translator bowed low. Jalen exhaled for the first time in minutes. Queen stepped closer and whispered, "The stars sent you, Yalin of Earth. You were not meant to find me. But you did." He didn't know what to say. Behind them, the sky began to rumble again. More ships. But not royal. Something worse was coming. The Queen stood in front of the alien ship, her silver robe blowing in the wind. Her legs were weak, but her eyes were sharp. Yalin stayed close, unsure if he should speak or stay quiet. She looked up at the darkening sky. "They are not my ships." Yalin followed her gaze. 3 more ships were dropping from orbit. They looked different, sleek, black with red markings, and twice as large as the Queen's guard vessels. The Queen frowned. "Velari rebels." She said Jal. Een blinked. "Rebels?" The leader of the guard stepped forward. "My Queen, we must retreat. We have no weapons active. We are exposed." She shook her head slowly. "If we run, they will chase. If we stay, we defend our ground." Yalin stepped closer. "What do they want?" She looked at him. "They want me dead." The words hit like a punch. "Why?" The Queen didn't answer. Instead, she placed her hand on the side of her ship. A light ran along the hull, and a soft sound echoed deep inside. Then something unexpected happened. Another hidden panel opened just behind the Queen's stasis pod. Inside was a second pod, smaller, slimmer, and it held a child, a little girl, Velari, like the Queen, but younger, maybe 10 in human years. Her hair floated in stasis light, and she held a small crystal in her hands. Yalin stared in shock. She's your daughter?" The Queen nodded. "My heir." The guards whispered to one another, their voices low with fear. Jalin's voice shook. "You weren't alone on that ship." "No," the Queen replied, softly. "I hid her before the crash. I told no one. If the rebels knew, she would be the first to die." Yalin stepped closer, looking at the girl. "She's still alive?" "Barely," said the Queen. "Her pod was running out of power. If you hadn't come, she would have faded in her sleep." Yalin looked down. His hands were still dirty from the ship's engine work. "I didn't mean to save royalty," he muttered. "I just saw something broken and fixed it." The Queen smiled, tired but kind. "Then you are more royal than many who sit on thrones." Suddenly, alarms blared from one of the guard ships. A guard shouted, "Enemy ships landing 2 minutes." The Queen turned to her captain. "Prepare the defensive line." The captain looked uneasy. "With what, Your Grace?" "Our systems are still half dead." She looked at Yalin. "Can your tech still help?" He blinked. "You want me to help power your weapons?" You've already given life to my ship. I trust your hands." Yalin hesitated. "I'm not a soldier. You're a builder," she said. "Right now, we need one." He ran back inside the ship, searching through the panels. He connected one of his backup coils to the secondary grid, bypassing safety locks. The lights on the weapon ports blinked alive, only 2 cannons working. He shouted out the door. 2 forward turrets online, but only basic fire. The Queen nodded. "That's enough, for now." The enemy ships landed hard, sand spraying across the crash site. Doors hissed open, and figures in black armor rushed out. They wore sharp red visors and carried heavy pulse rifles. A voice rang out from a loudspeaker. "Surrender the Queen, or we burn the ground beneath your feet." The Queen stepped forward. "This is Velari land. You do not command here." The voice replied, cold and cruel, "You were queen. Now you're prey." And then the shooting started. Jalen ducked behind the landing gear as energy bolts flew past. One of the royal guards fell. The others fired back, but their shots were weak, shields too low. System still charging. Jalen ran to the side turret controls, typing quickly. "Come on, work." The cannon groaned, then fired. A loud pulse shot from the front of the ship, striking one rebel square in the chest. He fell, armor cracked and smoking. "Nice shot," one of the guards shouted. The Queen stood firm, her daughter's pod now behind a shield of light. Yalin kept firing, rerouting power between the engine and the guns. But the rebels were pushing hard. Just then, one of the rebel soldiers broke through the guard line and ran straight for the ship. Jalen stood in the doorway, face to face with the charging warrior. He had no gun, no armor, just a tool in his hand. The rebel raised his weapon. Then froze. A blast hit him in the side. He fell, smoking. Behind Yalin, the Queen lowered her hand. A small device on her wrist smoked gently. She looked at Yalin. "You are no longer a stranger," she said. "You're part of this now." The battlefield fell silent. Rebel bodies lay scattered in the sand, smoke rising from their armor. The air smelled like burned metal and dust. Some had fled, others were still breathing, but the fight was over for now. Yalin stood still, the tool still shaking in his hand. He had never killed anyone, but he had stood in front of a gun and lived. The Queen stepped past him, slow and graceful, though her energy was fading. Her daughter's pod now glowed steadily behind a soft golden shield. Yalin noticed something strange. When the Queen touched her wrist again, the pod's light grew stronger. "She's waking, isn't she?" he asked. "Soon," the Queen replied softly. Her guard stood nearby, silent and tense. The captain walked forward. "My Queen, the rebels will return. This was only a scouting group. We must leave this moon." The Queen shook her head. "My ship is not flight ready. We don't have time." She turned to Yalin. "And we cannot take him with us." Yalin felt his stomach drop. The guard captain agreed. "He has seen the Queen. He knows our secrets. We cannot risk." "No," the Queen interrupted. "He didn't ask for this. He gave more than most of my council ever has." Yalin stepped forward, eyes locked on hers. "If I'm a problem, then just say it. But I didn't come here looking for power. I just wanted to help." She looked at him for a long moment. Then she turned away. The guards whispered among themselves. The captain was clearly angry, but he stayed silent. For now, finally, the Queen spoke. "Where I come from," she said, her voice soft but strong. "Saving a royal life demands a reward." Yalin raised a brow. "I don't want a reward." "Even so," she said, "you must receive one." She stepped closer, placing a silver hand on his shoulder. Her skin was cold, but not lifeless. You repaired the royal vessel. You protected my daughter. You stood against my enemies when you didn't have to. She paused. You risked death to fix something broken. He gave a small shrug. It's kind of what I do. She smiled gently. Then she looked at her guards. I named this human Yalin of dust and light. He is under royal protection. No blade, bullet, or law shall touch him while I live. The guards bowed low. Even the captain hesitated before kneeling. Jalen blinked. Wait, what? You are now royal property, she said, teasing just a little. Or rather, my royal engineer. He opened his mouth, but no words came. The queen stepped closer. I trust you. Yalin looked away. That's a dangerous thing to say out loud. Just then, her daughter stirred in the pod. The light inside shifted as her fingers twitched and her lips moved. Mother. The girl whispered. The queen turned, eyes wet for the first time. She's waking, the captain said. The queen nodded. She lives because of him. A low rumble echoed across the desert again. This time, it wasn't a ship. It was from below. The ship's AI came alive. Deep energy reading detected. Enemy drills activating. Large ship entering orbit. Yalin looked at the queen. More rebels? Yes, she said quietly. The real army. The captain frowned. We can't win this. Not like this. Then we don't fight them here, she replied. She turned to Yalin. You said you liked fixing things? He nodded, confused. Yeah, why? She smiled. Then let's see if you can fix a royal starship. For real this time. Jalin's eyes widened. Wait, you want me to fly it? No, she said calmly. I want you to make it fly again. But it's barely holding together. I'll give you access to the core, she said. I trust you. He swallowed hard. You really are serious. She turned away. If you fail, we all die. If you succeed, then maybe I have more than one heir. Yalin blinked. Excuse me? She didn't answer. Instead, she walked back into the ship with her guards, leaving Yalin standing outside, dizzy, sweaty, and suddenly part of a royal rebellion. He looked up at the stars and muttered, I came out here for scrap metal. And now he was about to rebuild the queen's ship. With an army coming, and a child heir waking, and the entire galaxy watching. Jalen stood in the heart of the royal ship, surrounded by alien tech glowing faintly in the darkness. Sparks flew from the walls. The air was hot, humming with unstable energy. His hands moved fast, connecting wires, bypassing damaged circuits, and attaching one of his Earth-built power coils to the ship's dying core. He had never worked on anything like this. It was alive. Not in the way a human would be, but in the way a storm is alive. Quiet, dangerous, and beautiful. The queen watched from behind. Her daughter now rested in a recovery pod beside her, slowly gaining strength. The guards stood alert, eyes on the scanners. The queen's voice was calm. How long? Yalin didn't look back. 10 minutes, maybe less. Depends if this core likes my tech. And if it doesn't, he laughed nervously, then we all become a very bright fireball. The queen didn't respond, but she trusted him. That was clear. Outside, the ground shook again. The rebel dreadnought had landed just beyond the dunes. Its massive shadow stretched across the desert, and hundreds of soldiers moved in formation. The ship's I whispered, power at 64%. Reactor warming. Flight systems reinitializing. Yalin sighed with relief. It's working. Then a loud boom echoed outside. Dust sprayed across the windows. One of the guard ships exploded in the distance. The queen turned to her captain. Defend the perimeter. Buy him time. The guards saluted and ran out, Weapons ready. Yalin didn't stop working. He felt the core pulse under his hands. It was accepting the energy, now slowly adapting. Blue light ran through the floor and up the walls. Screens turned on. Symbols formed into maps and navigation charts. Then the ship spoke again. Flight systems restored. Manual control unlocked. Launch ready in 2 minutes. The Queen looked at Yalin. You've done it. He wiped his forehead. I'm still alive, so I guess that's good news. The Queen placed her hand on his shoulder. You are not just a man now. You are the one who made a broken crown rise again. Yalin gave a shy smile. Well, I've been called worse. She turned toward the front of the ship. Prepare for launch. Alarms rang across the desert. The rebels opened fire. Laser blasts struck the ship's outer hull. Shields held butt. Barely inside, the engines roared to life. The Queen stepped into the command chair. Yalin stood beside her, watching the screens. She looked at him. Do you trust me? I fixed your ship, he said. I guess I better. The ship lifted. Sand flew into the air like a storm. Guards jumped onto secondary craft and followed. The rebel soldiers looked up too late. The royal vessel blasted into the sky. Yalin gripped the rail. She flies like a dream. She flies like a memory, the Queen said softly. As they broke through the clouds. Yalin looked down and saw the rebel dreadnought shrinking fast. Then the ship's AI spoke. One last time. Incoming transmission open message to Velari system. The Queen lives. The crown rises. The engineer stands beside her. The Queen looked at him. That message just made you famous. Yalin's eyes widened. Please tell me it didn't say my name. No, she smiled. But every faction in the galaxy will be asking who you are. He groaned. I liked it better when I was just fixing pipes. She reached out, gently placing her hand over his. You can still fix things. But now, you help fix empires. He didn't know what to say. The stars stretched before them, open and endless. Behind them, the war still burned. But ahead, there was a chance. A future. Maybe even peace. Yalin looked out the window, then at the Queen, and whispered, I think I'm ready. She nodded once. Then let's fly. Together, they left the dust behind. And rose into the stars. End of story.